It was the 1960s, and Bruno Amadio was walking down the street of Madrid. He stopped to look at one young boy. Something about the boy's sorrowful expression captivated the artist. Unbeknownst to him, a Catholic priest had been watching, clearing his throat, looking annoyed. He walked over to Amadio. The priest gave Amadio a warning. The orphan shall not be messed with. Intrigued, Amadio wanted more answers, so the priest reluctantly gave him. The boy was an orphan named Don Benio. He had witnessed his own parents perish in a tragic fire, and ran away. Since Benio has come under the church's care, several fires have broken out, and the origin of the fires were always undetermined. The sudden burst of incidents related to fire after Benio's arrival has earned him the nickname, Diablo, which means devil. As you can imagine, Benio wasn't well liked, and was not having a good time under the priest's care. It was out of the goodness in the priest's heart that he wanted Amadio to stay away from the child. Amadio looked at Benio. How could such an innocent-looking creature be responsible for all those fires? Surely they were mistaken. Amadio hushed the concerns in his mind, and decided then and there that he was going to take Benio home with him. Very quickly, the church arranged the departure of Benio as if they couldn't wait to get rid of him. And with that, Benio started living with Amadio. Amadio, being a painter, saw beauty in Benio's sadness and decided to forever capture Benio's expressions in his art. Benio found it difficult to sit still, but Amadio made him sit through session after session of portraits. Surely, that's the least Benio could do for him, after Amadio offered him a new home and warm food. Finally, the painting was finished, and Amadio wondered how much he could sell the paintings for. To his elation, the painting did well. Amadio had not seen the same level of success with his other paintings before, and Amadio decided to do more. Amadio did more than 60 portraits in the Crying Boy series. Each of his paintings was printed, reprinted, and mass-produced. It became especially popular in the UK, selling over 50,000 copies in total. However, Armadio's relationship with the boy would soon come to an end, when Armadio's apartment caught on fire mysteriously. Armadio fled the scene with Benio. It took a while, but the fire eventually died down. Unfortunately, the fire had gone on for long enough that Armadio was left with nothing. All of his stuff was engulfed in the flame. Armadio shed a few tears. He thought about all the paintings he has done over the years. Although it didn't do well in the market, he still loved having it around as a testament to his passion. Benio tucked on Armadio's sleeves. He needed Armadio to figure out where they were going to stay next. Looking at Benio, Armadio remembered the day he first met him, and the priest's warning. Filled with regret and perhaps a bit of fear, Armadio made the choice to abandon Benio. The priest was right, the boy was a devil, Armadio told himself, partly to subdue the guilt for having left Benio behind. Occasionally, over the years, Armadio wondered how the boy was doing and what happened to him, but he never saw Don Benio again. In 1985, a house in Rotherham owned by Ron and Mary Hall burned down. Everything on the first floor was destroyed, except for one item, the Crying Boy painting that hung on their living room wall. When the fire started, the painting had dropped to the ground, face down, and strangely, the painting was retrieved charred only slightly. Following this incident, about 60 other places would burn down with the Crying Boy painting rediscovered at the scene, still relatively intact and recognizable. Other places that burned down include a pizza parlor. The curse evolved, and instead of just fires, people would get injured or even die in the presence of the painting. Angry people started connecting the dots and figured that the Crying Boy paintings were cursed. Some people tried to burn their paintings and were horrified when the painting wouldn't catch on fire. This newspaper, titled Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy, only added fuel to the flame. No pun intended. To avoid any bad luck, no one would purchase any paintings done by Giovanni Bragolin, the supposed painter whose name can be found on the paintings, and they also stopped asking him for commission work. Let's just say, Amadio was glad he had created another identity to take the fall. A mass bonfire was even started. Anyone in possession of the Crying Boy series was quick to send in their paintings to The Sun, a news company. In total, they received 2,500 copies of the Crying Boy in different variations, and they burned it all. So what's going on? Is the Crying Boy curse real? Did Don Benio place a curse on all the paintings done of him because he was upset about Amadio abandoning him? Well, remember the first fire in 1985 where the painting was discovered face down, slightly charred? The cause of the fire was actually a deep frying pan. The painting had nothing to do with the fire. Despite knowing this, the couple was convinced it was the Crying Boy's fault. Many other accidents also had a known cause, and the painting was not to blame. In fact, many paintings retrieved from the ashes were done by different artists and of different children. But most people ignored that inconsistency. The subsequent analysis also revealed that the painting was painted on high-density hardboard, making it difficult to ignite. This could explain why the paintings were often the only thing remaining after a fire. A fire that may have started out of the house owner's callousness. For those wondering, this is a real experiment by BBC Radio 4. You can see that the fire didn't spread all over the paintings as you would expect. The flame stayed at one spot. In the end, what you're left with is a slightly charred painting. Exactly like the ones they found. So that's it, the crying boy isn't cursed after all. What happened to the boy Don Benio? It's easy to assume we don't know what happened to him, and some of you may even speculate that he never really existed. Maybe Amadio made up the story to drum up hype, but it backfired on him. No, Amadio actually did meet Don and took him under his care. Before we get there though, here's something you can ask yourself. Would you ever hang a crying boy painting in your home knowing it's not cursed? Because, despite knowing what actually caused the fires, and why the paintings were found relatively intact, Alan Wilkinson, the fire station officer who has personally been to 50 of the crying boy fires, turned down the gift of a crying boy painting when he was retiring. I mean, I would probably do the same. In 1976, a car crashed on the outskirt of Barcelona. When the fire officers arrived on the scene, it was too late. The fire had gone unmanaged for too long. They found the remnants of the driver still strapped to his seat. No one else was in the car. They could not make out any distinctive facial features as the body was burned beyond recognition. They hit a break, however, when they discovered part of the driver's license. The name on the license? Don Benio. To many, it's a tragic end to a life that also started in flame. We don't know what happened to Don Benio after he was abandoned on the street that day, and what he did with his life before his life was cut too short. Let's hope he had somewhat of a good life after all the tragedies he endured. With that, we can finally close the book on the crying boy curse.